Hi, welcome to Audiobook Academy. This is a self-paced audiobook. There's no need to keep an eye on things. Just pay attention. Thank you for taking the time to listen. This is a book summary of The 5 People You Meet in Heaven, by Mitch Albom. Approximately how many times a day do you ponder your own demise? We tend to avoid bringing up the subject of death in casual conversation. The 5 People You Meet in Heaven is a poignant and realistic look at death in a beautiful fable. We learn how to live more meaningful and fulfilling lives by studying the lessons and wisdom we leave behind when we pass away. Many of us, when asked who we admire and look up to, will name people who are well known or have a large following. All of us have a sphere of influence and can have a significant impact on society, according to this book. Ordinary people can have an enormous impact on the world, despite our adoration and obsession with celebrities and superstars. As a result of these simple principles, we are able to have more control over our own lives and see ourselves as protagonists in our own stories. We all have the power to affect the lives of those around us and the world at large. Mitch Albom tells a story about death, grief, and the search for purpose. For nearly 2 years, The 5 People You Meet in Heaven remained on the New York Times bestseller list because of his universal lessons. It's easy to assume that anyone who has read Charles Dickens' A Christmas Carol will recognize this as a book about death. On the other hand, it offers empathy and insight in a refreshingly modern approach to understanding and dealing with death. It also deals with random encounters, fate, and serendipity, and demonstrates how our actions can have profound consequences. A contemporary universal classic despite its heaven-themed content because of its non-religious focus. This book is a must-read for anyone who is afraid of death and wants to learn how to live a better life as we near the end of our days. Let's take a quick look at it. Every Man's Story. Eddie, a maintenance worker at an amusement park, is the protagonist of the story. It's easy to see that Eddie is just like the rest of us. Although he is kind and compassionate throughout the novel, he is also flawed and unlikable. Working at Ruby Pier, Eddie was fatally shot. He dies on the day of his 83rd birthday while attempting to save a girl from a ride malfunction. After the accident, Eddie regains his youthful vitality and meets the first of 5 people who will accompany him on his journey to the afterlife. This is a story about the average person, and the concept of heaven is presented in stages, starting with the waiting room and concluding with the ultimate goal. As a result, heaven is a place where you come to terms with your life on earth, and meeting the 5 people who have had the greatest influence on your journey there is the first step. Through their stories, each person tells you how you fit into their lives and how you've impacted them. It's the Blue Man. The butterfly effect is a term you may be familiar with. There are times when even the tiniest of actions can have a profound impact. The Blue Man is the first person Eddie encounters. The Blue Man tells Eddie that he's in heaven when he wakes up after his accident and realizes that he's in heaven. The Blue Man is the first person Eddie has had an impact on, or a person that Eddie has had an impact on. As strange as it may sound, Eddie had never even met the Blue Man before his death. However, his actions had a profound effect on the Blue Man. When Eddie was a kid, he accidentally killed the Blue Man by running into the road. Eddie learns his first lesson after apologizing and feeling guilty about what he'd done to his friend. The first lesson is that everything in life is interconnected, nothing happens by chance, and there is a reason for everything. We become more selfless and self-aware when we realize that our actions have consequences and that what we do affects others. Captain of the Armies. Selflessness can also be achieved by putting the needs of others ahead of your own and making sacrifices. Eddie's former army captain is the second person to arrive on the scene. During their conversation, the 2 men reminisce about their service in the war and the hardships and horrors they witnessed. With regard to an important event that took place after a village was completely destroyed by flames, Eddie shares his experience of seeing an unlit shadow in the burning structure. During the incident, Eddie told his captain that he wished to enter the hut and rescue the trapped person. Eddie, on the other hand, was shot before he could intervene. The captain then admits that he shot Eddie in the leg to save his own life. Due to Eddie's epiphany, it becomes clear how much bitterness and blame he's been harboring for his lack of accomplishments. In addition, he learns how his old captain died after speaking with him. The captain stepped on a landmine while scouting the road for danger, and the entire truck of men would have been destroyed. Because of this, the captain was able to save Eddie twice. It's time for our second lesson on sacrifice. The meaning of life is enhanced by self-sacrifice. It's a good idea to keep this in mind the next time you feel like you've been treated unfairly or need to make a sacrifice. As a result, serving and putting the needs of others ahead of your own brings about positive social change. Ruby. Serving and forgiving others is an important step toward self-realization. Ruby is the third person Eddie encounters. Ruby's late husband decided to honor her memory by naming the amusement park after her. Ruby turns out to have known Eddie's father and may be able to shed light on information that he was previously ignorant of. When Eddie was a child, he was convinced that his father was an alcoholic who abused him and humiliated him. When Eddie was a child, he had no idea what had happened to his father before his death. A drunken rapist killed Ruby's father in an attempt to save Eddie's mother. Eddie is able to let go of his rage and resentment as a result of this epiphany. As a result, the lesson here is that forgiveness is the only way to heal, not only for those around us, but for ourselves as well. The only way we can truly be free is to let go of our resentment and forgive, and forgiveness has a great deal of beauty to it as well. The wife of Eddie. What would you take if your house were on fire? Is a frequently asked question. Inquiring into what we value and hold dear, this question is revealing. Some things never come to an end and will be with us for the rest of time. The simple things we take with us and the things we leave behind are often the most meaningful. There, Eddie is greeted by the spirit of his late wife, who passed away from a brain tumor. They reminisce about their wedding and the wonderful years they had together as they spent time together. When asked if she had any regrets about the simple existence she shared with Eddie, she confessed to having only a few. Even though Eddie had regrets, his wife assures him that love, unlike material possessions, will always be there for him. After seeing his wife for the first time in years, he realizes that true wealth is derived from the abundance of love in one's life rather than the accumulation of material goods. The Spectre. Finally, Eddie encounters the girl who escaped from the burning house. Eddie had carried around the trauma of not being able to save the girl from the burning hut throughout his entire life. A cathartic experience awaits him when he finally meets her face to face and they talk about her wounds and suffering. For a time, Eddie feels guilty for failing to save the young girl from the raging fire and accuses God of doing this terrible thing. To Eddie's great relief, the girl reassures him that his life had meaning because he died saving a young girl at the amusement park. A new beginning awaits Eddie and his wife as the story concludes with Eddie and his wife in their version of heaven. Final takeaway: we are all part of a bigger picture, in which everything is interconnected. In the end, be the change you want to see in the world, Gandhi famously advised. Who are the 5 people you believe you'll meet in heaven, and what are their names? It is a powerful and simple wisdom, and it provides us with a way to find some control, in a place where we often feel powerless, in the 5 people you meet in heaven. It's true that we can't control death, but we have complete control over our actions and the impact we have on the world and on other people. Kindness, simplicity, generosity, and the idea that all actions have a ripple effect are all taught in this book. Things like kindness, authenticity, and gratitude can go a long way in determining what a meaningful life is and what legacy you want to leave behind. There is a strong message in this book about the ability of people to effect positive change and bring about their own personal fulfillment and happiness. In addition, focusing on simplicity has a lot of appeal. Although it's easy to feel like a small and insignificant part of a much larger picture when it comes to our impact on the world, this small book teaches us that we're hugely significant and that it's impossible to know the full extent of our impact. Thank you for listening in Audiobook Academy. Please don't forget to subscribe for more content like this. See you in next audiobook.